everybody, and welcome to another episode of the ARC Pikes Peak Regions podcast. We are so happy that you are tuning in, and I'm your host, Morgan Wiese, and today I am joined by two wonderful ladies. We have our advocacy coordinator, Daryl, and then we also have a bilingual navigator and advocate, Laura. So thank you both so much for joining me today. I'm super excited to have you on.
Thank you for having us.
Of course.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, Laura, as I said, you are one of our newest employees here. We're the newbie, but we're so grateful and just so lucky to have you. You found us before you started working here, and I just kind of wanted to know, before you decided to get involved with the ARC Pikes Peak region, what was the situation? What was kind of going on? What were you looking for?
Well, when I found the Succeeding in a School in Life, that is a program we have here at the ARC. My son was just recently diagnosed with autism level 3. I was looking for a community where he can get that exposure. And I keep asking the social worker I got assigned when he was diagnosed, tell me groups of parents or families who have kiddos with disabilities so my son can socialize with other peers. Thankfully, she refers me to the ARC. I found the School in Life program. My son was nonverbal back then. He was pretty impacted by the diagnosis back when I started the program. And when I went to the program, I remember clearly I went to this event that we were going to build birdhouses. And Sydney, one of our co-workers, was leading a navigator. She was leading the program. And I remember I walked in. It really made me feel like the warm, welcoming community that I was looking for in a group. It was amazing the way my son started developing from then all the way until now. If you see my son now, you will be impressed because now he's a verbal person. He is about to go to school. Yeah. He is looking to make contact with peers, make friends. So really this program for me, that I'm an immigrant, my family and we are an immigrant and we live here in Colorado in our own with no family support. This group at the ARC gave us this warm hug that we needed to go through the diagnosis, grieving process that all moms, I guess, we go through. It helped me to understand and value the diagnosis in a different way, in a different perspective, and helped me navigate this journey with Liam, my son, with the autism and all this stuff. So thanks to that community I found later on, is now that I'm here working for the ARC, the proudest, the happiest. I'm more, I feel blessed that I found you guys, because literally you gave me and my family a different support, or I don't know, like I felt like finally I belonged to a family, a community, something that I didn't find back before the diagnosis.
Right, absolutely. And so for people who don't know, Daryl is our advocacy coordinator and also is a big part of our School in Life program, which we've been talking about. So for people who may not know what School in Life is or what it offers, could you just give a brief little summary?
Well, I'm not always known for being brief, so
let me see if I can do the best I can.
It's the Succeeding in School in Life program actually originated from Will Romero,
right?
Who's our executive director, and this was really his brainchild, right? And this came out of when he was at home during COVID, and he was working with his grandson, right? And his background in early childhood, and he thought, oh, I can do this. You know, his grandson was at home, and he thought, I can handle this, and I can work with him. And he ended up quickly frustrating, and he thought, man, if I'm frustrating, with my background, with my grandchild, imagine a parent of a child with a disability. So this is kind of that whole focus of the Succeeding in School and Life program. It's really, the focus is, it's a parent empowerment program.
Right.
And so the focus is really on parent empowerment. And so how we do parent empowerment really takes different formats and different forms,
Right.
depending on the level of parent interest and availability and the needs of a family.
Mm-hmm.
So one level of parent empowerment is doing, for example, a family navigation. So family navigation can look like, as a navigator, and you're a parent, and I say, what would you like to work on with your child? What are your goals for your child? And we make a plan together between parent and navigator for what you want to work on. It doesn't have to be anything having to do with what perhaps the school is working on with the IEP. It is certainly not a tutoring session, because that was really misunderstood in the past.
Yep.
But it really is something that, as the parent, you choose what your hope or dream is for your child. And I'll give a really quick example. One parent came to us and said, look, I have a child who has a device. He is completely nonverbal, but he refuses to use it. And he knows how to use it, but he refuses to use it.
Right.
And so one of the navigators that works with us said, well, what are his interests? And lo and behold, this young man loves to cook. And so what he did was he said, okay, let's meet in our kitchen at 207. It's where a lot of our navigation takes place. And so mom and the young man went to 207. And in order to begin to engage in the activity of cooking, the young man had to begin to use his device to participate in the cooking activity. And over time transitioned from just cooking while using the device to begin to answer questions with the device. Because mom's greatest fear was, should my husband and I be involved in an accident and we are unresponsive, and my son is awake, he would not be able to communicate with first responders.
Right.
And so ultimately that cooking activity turned into the young man using the device, and then transitioned to the young man coming to this office and randomly asking the staff, asking the young man various questions. Where do you live? What is your name? How old are you? Are you hurt? How are you feeling? And then from there, mom took him to the grocery store and other public places. So that's just one example.
Right.
Navigation can take very different forms. Navigation could be parent coaching. I kind of know what I'm doing with my kiddo, but I need some support. I need some ideas for what I can go do next, or resources. So that could be another form of navigation. So navigation can take different pathways.
Yeah.
Another thing that we do is, I think, what I think you also enjoyed is our family socials.
Right.
So once a month we do family socials.
And everyone enjoy it too.
Yes, we're starting to max out of our current space for our family socials.
Gaining traction.
So yes, so a good problem to have, but a hard problem to have at the same time. So what we do once a month is that we plan a meal and we make the meal. We have 2 people home cook the meal for our families.
Right.
And we decorate the space. And we have twinkly lights and candles, battery operated candles, and real tablecloths. And we really try to make it a soft place to land. And who is this geared for? Parents. Okay.
Right.
Because parents need a little relaxed time where they can bring their kids, get a meal. We, thanks to Laura joining us, we've created some sensory friendly spaces here in this building as well. And parents do bring an additional, if their child needs a one-on-one support to participate in that sensory space, the parent brings another person to be with that child. But the reason we do that is that after the meal, we have a guest speaker from the community that comes in and shares their story. They're either a parent of a child with a varying ability or a disability or whatever, or they are a resource, and they're a way that parents can learn more information about what's out there. So they get to hang out, have a nice meal, have a soft place to land. We put nice jazz music on for families. We, they want to have a glass of wine or something like that, have a home cooked meal. It's a safe space. Everyone is welcome. And then they get to hear from a guest speaker.
Right.
We also have Spanish-speaking families come along with English-speaking families. We have simultaneous interpretation that happens every month as well, so that in real time, monolingual Spanish-speaking families can hear the guest speaker, understand, ask questions. So it really is an inclusive space.
Right.
There are, regardless of language spoken, regardless of physical or any other challenge that the family would have.
Right.
So that's what we do. Another thing that we're doing do you want me to talk about all the things we do?
And I just would like to add on this that Daryl is talking about our social events, something very important that me as a parent, I went through as a parent and then as a navigator. It is a very important space because we are parents with kiddos with disabilities. Sometimes it's really hard to go into a place because, I don't know, my kid is loud, my kid cannot stay sitting down. My kid cannot wait for the waitress to bring the food. I don't know. So we do this specifically thinking on those parents who doesn't have those opportunities. And for real, parents come here and I have parents telling me, I never been to a place like this before because I can't. I really can't. So this is a very important space for them to connect. Also, another thing that as a mom, or sometimes when you're a stay-at-home mom, you don't have time to go and make friends and have a drink and have coffee and go to movies. Like, you don't have time for that. And also, when you go to play dates, you don't have time to sit down and talk to the mom because we're chasing kids.
Right.
So this space is really put up together, and it's being put up together really nicely. Me as a parent and me as a navigator now, I see it like as a great resource for this community, for them to have that little breath that, I can sit here, I can eat dinner, and nobody's gonna judge me. Nobody's gonna tell me, please be quiet. Please, your kid cannot do this and that. My kid is having a fun time because we have a multipurpose room set up and a sensory room set up for them. And they have literally a nice space where they can feel comfortable, where they can connect, make friends. And I can say that myself, I make friends, mom friends in this program that up to this date, they are becoming my closest friends because we know how it is, how it feels to have a kid with disability. We go through navigating the school systems and therapies and schedules, like all this. We know, we empathize, we match.
Right.
So it's a very important place, and it's very important to highlight it, I feel, into this program and in the ARC, and give the proper recognition to the ARC and to Wilfredo for doing this for the community, because I haven't had a bad comment about it. Every family who come here are grateful and appreciate that if their kid is being loud, is having a meltdown, whatever, we are there to support them, to understand them, to hear them, to hug them. Because some parents are like, I had a very hard day, I just came to work and blah, 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 I have this crisis. But then I get here and I feel like, I can have a beer? Can I have a wine? Like, those are for people like who lives their daily lives with neurotypical kids, that you don't realize how valuable is it. So even if it's a little space, a short meeting, let's say, is very important. Once a month that a parent have that is.
And that's why I'm really insistent on real tablecloths.
Mm-hmm. You're going the extra mile.
We have table runners, we have chargers. It's beautiful. I want it to be a soft place for families to land. I want it to feel like an elevated space where they can come and sit and relax and connect and enjoy a guest speaker and have a meal and have their children with them. And it's all
Exactly.
It's a welcoming space.
Yeah.
So that's our once a month family social.
Right.
And then we do teen to transition nights out. We have a guys' night out once a month,
Right.
and we have a young ladies' night out. So it's 13 up through, if you're in the school system and you're in a transition program, up through 21.
Yep.
And we really work hard on creating pro-social skills, self-advocacy skills, confidence, did I say communication
skills.
Leadership skills.
Right.
So that's really important, because in my previous life, when I worked in the school district and I was a mental health provider and a school psychologist, I do see how important that is for
Right.
children to be able to self-advocate, to be able to make healthy friendships, to be aware of appropriate boundaries. And in those fun activities, we're also learning and practicing how to do. We're giving mini lessons on how to practice those appropriate skills,
Right.
and then, but at the same time, we're having fun, and the guys and the girls are connecting.
Right. So social and educational. You're taking it a step further from just making friends, but you're also trying to plant the seeds.
Some instructional pieces with it.
Right.
And now we're even expanding and bringing in some neurotypical peers with our guys' night out group, so that we really have some neurotypical peer models. And that's going to be something coming that we're going to continue to include, so that they really have that sense of connection.
Right.
And that's true inclusion.
Yeah, and they can integrate and feel part of the community rather than isolate themselves because they feel different. So here I am with a neurotypical peer that I can connect and interact and learn. And then the goal is for them to transfer that to real life and being able to merge in this society and create a more inclusive society. So it's a beautiful thing to see.
And our next step from that, we're hoping, is to develop a mentorship program from that.
And
so
that
a
would
peer
just be
mentorship
great.
program.
Yeah.
So that's on the horizon.
And that's so awesome. And one of the big things that we kind of strive for here at the ARC is that we want to build a community that outlives us, right?
Yes.
So, we're obviously not going to be, life happens, we may move on and other people come in, but it's not about us. So how do we, create a community, that sustains itself? And just hearing about the family social and the teen transition, it's like you are planting these seeds. You're helping build a community that even outside of these family socials, now all of these parents, you included, like you have
support each other.
Yeah, you have a community now, and it's not, of course, you met through school and life at the ARC, but it goes beyond that. Now you have like a community here in Colorado Springs that you can rely on, and have each other as supports. And then also through your programming, you're also helping teach self-advocacy and people skills and all that stuff that is going to carry with them as they grow up. And I just think that that's really cool. And
I think another part of that is, as we're brainstorming and continuing to grow, is partnering and developing partnerships with other organizations that, we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
No.
But there are groups and partners that are doing great work and helping to partner with those groups and connecting families with those groups as well. We have groups even here within the ARC, where we're constantly, referring, like Cool Cats does a very unique thing.
Yes.
And we're constantly referring to, hey, there's Cool Cats for really doing a lot of fun activities, family fun, friendly activities.
Yeah.
That's great for you to head that direction.
Yep.
So, but that's even within the ARC, but there are other organizations that does things too.
Right.
So there are lots of ways, but as we're only a year in, at least since I've been here.
Right.
Now, Will had been doing this since COVID, but I think the School and Life, this is only, I think we're going into, we're ending our year 2, I think.
I believe
So this program has taken off tremendously within the last year,
Right.
and it's still morphing and still growing.
Right.
We also offer a space for homeschooling moms.
Right.
So while they kind of set the tone and they're very independent in what they do, we do support them by offering in a space and connecting. If there's a homeschool mom that was looking for a group, we connect them with that group, because they are also moms that have children with disabilities, and for whatever reason, the public school, they felt that was not an option for them. And so they need a support group, and they're pretty independent and pretty
well organized.
Very well organized group of people. And we support them in providing that space and advertising for them, the things they need to do. So it really can look different for people depending on what it is, but we're really passionate about finding where the spaces are where children need the support or where the families need the support. And we're very parent empowerment focused. And I think what I want to make a comment to you, Laura, is that when you joined the Succeeding in School and Life program, and then you joined the ARC, you as a mom your world changed from a small little world. Your world got bigger. And when your world got bigger, Liam's world got bigger. And as Liam's world got bigger, Liam's language also began to get bigger. And yes, you were doing therapies and all of that. But when he saw the change in you, and you saw you began to see the change in him. And I think that's true with the Succeeding in School and Life program. Another person that you navigate with, when that mom began to see her son, Laura navigates with a young man who was completely nonverbal, and now he is talking. And when that mom began to see her son differently and see that he can do, then this young man began to speak. He's becoming more independent. He's part of our Guys Night Out group. I saw him at bowling, and somebody wanted to help him grab the bowling ball, and he was like, nope, I can do it myself. And these are the kinds of behaviors and mindsets that we want to create in our people. And I think the reason this happens, and I just want to and this is what I really process this, in public school, and this is the way it is by default. In order to qualify for a special education IEP plan, right? The whole focus of that plan is based on a deficit model. That's how the state does it. That's how the federal government does it, right? Because they don't want to over-identify children because of the horrors of the past, right? So it really is based on a deficit model. So the testing is based on the deficit model. The results are based on the deficit model. The goals are based on the deficit model. So as a parent, you go to a school, and what you're hearing, and the staff, they're reporting out the justification for why this young person is in fact eligible under the rules and under the criteria for special education. Over time, I think an unintended consequence is that people hear, my child can't, my child can't, my child can't. It's an unintended consequence. It is the way the system is set up. It is the way the criteria is set up. And in fact, once the child can reach goals, or once that child can access general education without the specialized supports, they no longer need the IEP, right? So this is a critical piece to understand. What the ARC does in the Succeeding in School and Life program and says, your child can. Your child can. So it's a paradigm shift. So yes, your child has a disability. That's not going away. Maybe there's a developmental disability here that will never, ever, ever go away, but your child can. And that interrupts this pathway that gets embedded in children's minds, or in families' minds rather, for a pathway to guardianship. That puts a wrench in that thought process, because more likely than not, people with IDD do not necessarily need guardianship.
Right.
But even if for those people that may need guardianship, there needs to be choices that they are allowed to make throughout their day. So it's not guardianship or not guardianship. I'm almost over that paradigm at this point. Yeah. It's more about, how do we build in choices? How do we build in self-empowerment? No matter where you are, how do we create that? And how do we help the loved ones of people with IDD get there? And that's the power of the Succeeding in School
exactly
program.
Because it switched the perspective and the thinking. Because when you got a doctor telling you, by the way, I don't think your son can do this and that, and you have to, not explanation, right. They say you have to put him in ABA 40 hours a week, and in my head back then I was terrified until I found this program, and then they switched my way to see it. I'm not the victim parent here saying, oh, I have a kid with disability, poor of me, why me, blah, blah, blah. No, they gave me the power to say, okay, well, I have a son with autism. Let's find out what autism is. Yeah. Let's educate myself. Let's find resources. Let's find opportunities. Let's navigate this in a proactive way and just see the things in a different way that make me kind of switch and lead in a different way my son's life, because now I had the support, the knowledge, and the community who is backing me up and saying, you're not the only one, so go. Right. And that really impact our lives in a really positive way, because I can tell you now, I'm not scared of many things I was. I'm not worried of many things I was. Now I'm the one who is pushing my son out. My husband is like, hey, are you sure about it? Yeah, he can do it. Yeah, go for it. Because that switch in your mind, when it click, is you are the power for your kid, and you're the one who's gonna give them those wings or gonna cut them off. Because sometimes as a mom, we enable things without knowing that you're enabling. Like, I'm gonna put a very good example that I always tell people to empower them and to give that a little click on the switch, that I was enabling my son being nonverbal because I'm a mama bear. My son looked at me and I knew what he needed. I knew what he wanted. Right. So I went and gave it to him because I'm his mom. I have to be there for him. And until I met a therapist, and she's like, have you noticed that Liam haven't even requested and you're putting it there for him? Ignore him a little bit. Give him some time. And that's something that it really hits me. And I was like, I was enabling that he didn't need to talk because he was just so comfortable. Why do I need to talk for? My mom knows, and I don't even move a finger, and she already knows. So those are little things that we as a mom don't realize. And when you finally realize, it switched completely what your kid is capable of. And I always tell families, you don't know what your son can be until you see it. So trust the process and hold your fear. And whatever it works for you, either if it's religion, if it's counseling, if it's therapy, whatever works for you. But you have to be the strong mind in here to push this out for your kid to succeed. Yeah. So it's really impacting how your life can change just with a little thing you do different.
Right? And I think that's a good sign. That's a sign of, like, a lot of parents, they're good parents, and they're very anticipatory. And so they're very in tune with their children. And so they're already anticipating what that child might need before that child even asks for it, because they're so in tune with the nonverbal cues. And that reminds me of really good healthy attachment, right? Which you had. with Liam and with a lot of our parents have had to really learn what are they needing, because they're not necessarily verbal. So they're so in tune with the nonverbal cues, and they're always anticipating what do they need next, which is exactly good, responsive, anticipatory parenting. However, what I think sometimes can go wrong with that is when we over anticipate, like what you're saying, and we don't allow that child to, by default, not intentional, to kind of struggle a little bit and to request and to ask. And I think that this is what, by default, an unintended consequence is we enable without meaning to enable. And that's what you're saying. Yeah. And I think just by having that navigation experience, or having, whether it was through a therapist, or whether it was just that reflection, or whether it's just talking with another parent, or whether it's just relaxing or observing, or whether it's being in a guys' night out, because when we do our guys' night out, our parents come with,
right,
because we don't provide respite, but our parents do sit in another room, so our parents can hang out and talk.
Yep.
And the guys can be the guys.
Absolutely.
Without parents watching.
Without parents, and they can be teenagers.
Right.
And so they're, and that really helps allow them to kind of have that, the wings, kind of freedom to figure that out, and to not have that to be able to.
And I feel like many of the parents, when we see each other's situations and interactions, we realize of things too, talking to a mom and you are like, oh my gosh, this happened to you. Me too. Right. Oh my gosh, how did you do it? How did you solve it? So we solve problems together, right, that affects our daily lives. Oh, you know what? I noticed that in my kid, the sensory swing is great. Oh, you want to come a play date so your kid try my sensory swing so you don't have to buy it if it doesn't work. All those things are the organically happen.
And that's the community you're referencing.
Yep.
Yes,
yeah.
That will take shape on its own.
I have parents who doesn't speak English. I'm the bilingual navigator here and advocate. So feeling that they find people here that they speak the same language, or that they can have a translation, interpretation, that they can understand and feel part of it, and merge the cultures, the communities,
right,
and create that inclusive space that everyone can participate, seriously is an impact for life.
We also do the parent workshops.
Yeah.
Right.
We're doing parent workshops in Spanish, although we do have interpretation services in English.
I think that's awesome. Yeah, flip the script.
Yeah, so parents want to come that are English speakers, they absolutely can, and we'll have interpretation services in English. But that really allows for that Spanish community that have really unique cultural experiences to come together and talk through. We did a really unique art therapy activity with them on their feelings and reflections of being a parent or a mom with a child with a disability. There was not a dry eye in the house. And the way the parents opened up and shared, that's the kind of, when you talk, well, how does empowerment, that when you say empowerment, that is such a buzzword, but that's the kind of connection and release and wow. And the way parents listen to each other with such respect and honor and connection and comfort.
Right.
And we made them breakfast that day too. And we decorated it nicely for them too. And and it was just a really nice, that's the kind of stuff we do here at the School of Life program.
Yeah. And I just think it's so powerful to think about the impact this program can have, or like you're saying, just like the change of the lens, of the perspective of my kid can do this. And just, we have a big community here in Colorado Springs of parents of kids with disabilities. And I just think like having one person say to you, well, maybe your kid can do that. Like it spreads, and it's just you guys are doing awesome work, and this program is incredible.
Well, it paves the way for people to look at other people with disabilities differently. It will pave the way for job opportunities.
Yep.
It'll pave the way for educational opportunities. It'll pave the way for parents to dream about, yes, my child can do this. We've had guest speakers that said, my child went to college and my child wanted to live in an apartment by himself, and he did.
Yeah.
And my child wanted to do this. And I said, okay, he wanted to do catering. And so I went along as his job coach and we catered together. I mean, that just blew me away for a parent to model, this is what it took and this is what I did. I mean, there are parents that live this every day, and they are so incredibly brave, and they just command our respect, and at least the staff's respect.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody here that works here, at least on the School and Life staff, has some connection, either a family member or multiple family members, some connection to the disability community. But when I see a mom that says, I'm going to go along with you and we're going to do this together, and you want to cater, and okay, let's go out there and cater, and I'll put on the hat with you and we're going to do it. I mean, that just floors me. The depth of love and the depth of commitment. And that's a pathway. That's someone who's paving the pathway for people for a different world. And that's what the ARC is about.
Yeah.
And I always tell Daryl, like, every time I come to work, I had to say that I used to be a stay-at-home mom, right? And when I come, it was hard for me transitioning to work, to go back in the work field and leave my kids at home with a babysitter. That was another step that, at least on the Hispanic community, it is a very hard step to do, because culturally we're trained to be, you're gonna be home, you're gonna be with the kids, and you have a provider, but you have to stay home with the kids until the kids leave the house. Oh my goodness. And here I am in a different country with this culture. Thankfully, I married an American, so that's switch. But it's just like incredible to come here and see those families respond and connect and push their kids and find out, wow, I can do this. In my case, wow, I can go to work with no anxiety. My kids are at home, and wow, we're growing, we're connecting. My kids are developing in another way. The ARC for reals and succeeding at School in Life is a tremendous resource that I will be forever grateful. Not just because it gave us a different perspective, but because it pushes us to keep doing more and more and more. So I always tell Daryl and Will, I feel like every time I come here, I'm paving that path she's talking about for my son, for my daughter.
You are.
That later on they grow and they are like, wow, mom, in this community, we had this and this and this and that, and you helped to create that. That's what makes me come here and spend hours away from my family, because I know it's so worth it. At the end of the day, it's a full cycle. So if we, each of us, do our part, a little piece, I feel that full cycle is going to be completed and better. I know I'm a hopeful person, but
that's what it's about.
That's what it's about. And that's why with the families that we work, I always remind them, they come and I am alone, I'm an immigrant and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, me too. But guess what? You're going to be out of this hole that you feel in it. Right. You're going to be out, but you have to put the work in it. You have to learn. You have to connect. You have to take the time, put the fears away. But it's possible. And they look at me and, Laura, how you do it with the school, your kids' school, the therapists, the work? Honestly, I don't know. But I juggle it very well. And because I'm passionate about this and about the disability community, and I want to make them understand that their kids, even if they don't check many boxes when you fill up paperwork at doctors in school, they can check many other boxes that you don't even need to fill up, because you don't know their potential until you put them. I always say, go, the worst thing can happen is that you don't like it, you fall, and we start over. we'll start over.
Yeah.
But go for it. So it is great.
Thank you guys so much for sharing with me, sharing your experiences, both of you. And I'm very proud of what we do here, and I'm proud of you guys. And I'm very happy to call you my coworkers. And if you are interested in learning more about succeeding in school and life, head over to our website, www.thearcppr.org, to learn more. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you